Turner drives one to center, chasing Nimmo back to the warning track, right at the fence. He made the catch! Oh, wow! The catch of the year from Brandon Nimmo! He took a home run away from Justin Turner! Wow.
Episode 45. Welcome to the Say Hello podcast. My name is Casey Lynn. I'm joined by my co-host, former Major League pitcher and New York Met, Bill Pulsifer. We have Chris behind the scenes. We have a lot to get into. Before we get into a lot since last week, just want to say if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button on Say Hello Media. And we are available to listen wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google Chrome, wherever. So we appreciate that. Drop us a like, a comment. We always respond. Bill, it's been a week. Episode 45. How you doing in the cold in the Northeast?
Yeah, man, it's cold up here this week. This is the coldest week so far. But a week closer to spring training, so I guess it is what it is. We got a little bit of snow, but we were in single digits last night and didn't really get above 20 here on Long Island today. So we got another day or two of cold, and then it'll warm up a little bit. But a week closer to spring training.
3 weeks till pitchers and catchers, actually, from yesterday. So we made it. I mean, yeah, we have 3 more weeks, but they always say, tell me if I'm wrong, Bill, is January, does it just feel like the longest month of the year every freaking year?
You know what's funny is I was just talking with my wife, and I can't believe that it's the 21st already. So for me, it's kind of flown by this year. But yeah, definitely the anticipation of getting to spring training usually leads to a long January. But this one seems to have flown by.
Yeah, actually, you're right. So far, let's not jinx it. We got about a week and a half until February, and then you know how it is. Once the Super Bowl ends, it's officially baseball season. So we got 2 more games basically. Well, a couple more games until the Super Bowl, and then it's spring training. And
that's right.
There's a lot of free agents left.
Yes, I was looking at the list, man. Quite a few.
Oh yeah, big names too. However, the Mets, since last episode, and let's start with this. We're going to start with the guys who the Mets signed since we last spoke. We'll talk about Pete Alonso and everything going on with that. We'll talk about the Hall of Fame class that was just announced on Tuesday, and also the Dodgers, because they've been all over the news as well. And, of course, mailbag and quick pitches, all in episode 45. Before we start, Bill, we got to do uniforms that the Mets have won. Jersey number 45. Anything stand out to you?
Well, I took a list at it, and it's a pretty good list. Good list, actually. But I'm going to, like I always do, go with the guys that kind of mean something to me or the guys that I played with that wore the number. First one that popped out to me was Randy Neiman, who I didn't play with, obviously, because he's a little older than me, but he was one of my pitching coaches coming through the minor leagues, and then was also the bullpen coach when I played in the major leagues, my second go around with the Mets. So always somebody that's meant a lot to me. Got a chance to see him in in fantasy camp this year. He wasn't one of the coaches this year, but he lives in St. Lucie, and he came up to say hello, which is always nice. Next would be Jerry DiPoto, who wore the number when I first came to the big leagues. And then we go to Johnny Franco, who gave up number 31 for Mr. Piazza to wear, and he went to number 45. And then when Jason Isringhausen came back to the Mets in 2011, 44 was not available, and he didn't big league anybody or veteran status anybody, and said he would wear 45. So those are the guys that kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah, you did your homework. Pretty good. We'll start with a big name as well. Tug McGraw wore 45.
You got to believe.
Yeah, the big name right there in Mets history, 1965 to 1974. You talked about Randy Neiman in 85. A couple other names. Mark Carrion, pinch hitter galore, wore it 90 and 91. Paul Gibson, I remember him as a pitcher.
You know what? I was going to put Paul Gibson on the list because it's not his building anymore, but the building that I give pitching lessons out of when I originally started giving pitching lessons there was Paul Gibson's All-Pro in Belport.
Oh, wow.
I feel bad that I didn't put him on the list.
Well, I got you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 45, he wore it 92 and 93. you mentioned Jerry Dipoto, who has been the Mariners GM forever. He wore it 95, 96. Johnny Franco, you touched on it. He gave up 31 to Mike Piazza, and then he wore
Which is now retired, right? 31's now retired.
Yeah, absolutely. For Mike Piazza.
Wow, he got his number retired before Doc and Straw.
Hall of Fame, I guess, helped,
That does help. Yes, absolutely.
A little bit. And then you had, Franco wore for a while after, 98 to 04. Then you had Pedro Martinez.
Yes.
Kind of a big name. 05 to 08.
Sort of.
Yep. You mentioned Izzy for 1 year, 2011. Funny because he wore 44 last, we had episode 44 last year. And then Zach Wheeler, big name, 13 to 19 he wore it. And then last year for a little bit, Christian Scott wore it. And unfortunately, Christian is out for the year with Tommy John surgery.
He's got to be back by the end of this year, no?
I believe he's out for the whole year. I believe.
It's going to take so long. Come on.
We'll see. But I believe that's.
Maybe not in the big leagues, but he'll be pitching before the year's over. Unless he has some. Because he had it in the summertime or towards the end of the summer last year, right?
No, he waited. He was put on the IL. They waited till a long time. I want to say end of August, September. So there you go.
He might be gone all year.
Yeah,
you're right.
So a pretty good list. Not bad.
Yes, not bad at all.
As we are approaching higher numbers. So since we last had episode 44, Mets signed some two good players that I believe will help the team. Let's start with a lefty because of you and your left-handed prowess, AJ Minter. We all know him from the Braves. He spent 8 years with the Braves, a left-handed reliever. The Mets got him for 2 years and $22 million with an opt-out, of course, the Stern special after 1 year. He's 31. He's a real good get, I believe, for the Mets and David Stearns to put him in front of Edwin Diaz as an eighth-inning guy who also can get right-handed batters out as well. So I got all the numbers and stuff like that, but I wanted to get your thoughts on, because you mentioned him last episode, I remember, about AJ.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great pickup. I think he's a well above average relief pitcher with some gas still left in the tank. To be determined on moving from, I'm not going to say small market Atlanta, but different Atlanta than coming to Queens. But I like the signing. I think he's going to do great. And obviously they needed a lefty in the bullpen. And I think he fits the bill pretty darn good.
He does. The only thing that is a little concerning, 34 innings last year, only because he had hip surgery in August and was out for the rest of the year. So obviously everything, he passed his physical. They say he's fine. He had great numbers before he had the hip surgery, 34 innings, a 2.62 ERA in 39 games. But, kind of like a David Peterson, he had hip surgery. You never know what you're going to get. It's a big surgery, but, Peterson obviously did well. But I do expect Minter to be fine. I really do. The Mets are not going to take any chances with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, he might not get off to the full guns blazing right away, but I fully expect him to be fine. Those surgeries, those guys recover from those labrum surgeries in their hips pretty darn good. I did see that his swing and miss numbers were down a little bit from previous years, but maybe he was pitching with a little bit of an injury, so that'll definitely rob you of some stuff.
Yeah, and he had a career year. Granted, it's 2022, but this just tells you the type of pitcher he can be. In 75 games, 70 innings, an ERA of 2.06, and he struck out 94 batters. So
one thing I like about him too is he's a bulldog. He's like taking the bull by the horns and give me that goddamn ball. He's a warrior. I love that about him.
Yeah, I mean, we're very familiar with him. 8 years with the Braves.
Right.
He does have swing and miss stuff, but last year could have been the hip. He gave up. His home run rate went up, so that was a little bit concerning. I expect him to be fine.
I do too.
It's a good move. The Mets needed a lefty; they got one. Let's talk about the other side. The Mets had we talked about a little bit earlier in episode 44. Jesse Winker, fan favorite from Villain years ago to now,
Right.
The wave and everything. Winker, 1 year, $7.5 million, could be 9 with incentives. I love it. I wanted him back as the DH and a kind of a fourth outfielder. He'll probably at this moment platoon with Marte as constructed today. Anything can happen. But Winker, let's just throw some stats at you real quick, everybody. 31 years old. It's a 1 year contract against right-handed pitching last year. He did very well. 128 WRC plus, which is basically 24%.
Gibberish.
Gibberish, but it's good. Almost
Yes.
almost an 800 OPS. But he signed in the postseason, Bill, as we all remember. Let me give you this. Pretty awesome. In Mets history in the postseason, minimum 30 plate appearances. Delgado, number 1, 06. He had a 1.999 OPS. Winker, number 2, last year, 1.68. And then that big Murphy year in 2015 was number 3. So Winker, when the lights shined the brightest, Winker was there last year. I love the signing. I also love the attitude, the energy, the swag, the everything that he brings off the field as well. A little bit of a spice, as you will. What are your thoughts on Winker back?
Yeah, I think he's the type of guy that you hate when he's not on your team,
Right.
but everybody loves him when he's on the team. Obviously, he fit in well with the group, and we've talked numerous times about the camaraderie with that team. So, with certain people not coming back, possibly, or certain people not being on the club, we'll use Severino as an example, and possibly Alonso. Although I'm still holding out that hope, and I know a lot of Mets fans are. It brings back a little bit more familiarity with Winker, and obviously he was a productive ball player too. I was able to see some games up close from very close where I was sitting, playoff games and that, and you can tell how much it meant to him to be there and be a part of it, because I saw him waiting for, I want to say it was his father, I don't know for sure, but when they won the game against the Phillies to clinch the DLS or LDS, he sat there with tears in his eyes, waiting for his father to come down and greeted him down at the net, which I thought was an awesome moment. So good signing. Obviously, was a good in the clubhouse, or they wouldn't have brought him back, because he must have got along with everybody. I know him and Lindor seemed to hit it off pretty darn well. So another one what I think is a quality signing by Stearns, and another guy that can be productive for the ball club.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and Lindor actually, they grew up together playing travel ball in Florida.
There you go.
So they know each other since, I believe.
How awesome is that?
Yeah. So I believe Winker is just one of those guys that was meant to be a Met. Like all the history that you talked about in the waving and being that villain, and the fans loved him last year. So I think it was a good decision. We'll see what happens with the other side.
Let's hope that he's healthy, because there was a little bit of concern there at the end of the year where you saw him with the heat. The heat on his back in between, the little contraption that Lindor was wearing too.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was walking a little gingerly, but hopefully it wasn't really any damage. It was just, he might have tweaked something, and he's going to be healthy 100% going into spring training.
Yeah, I remember there were a bunch of games he didn't play because of the back in the postseason, and fans were like, what the hell? But then he played and he produced. So,
yes.
Well, hopefully that back's okay. So I like the two moves. That happened the last 7 days or so. We got to segue into the big name here that does not have clarity yet. Pete Alonso, again, Mets homegrown superstar, 26 home runs away from the Mets home run record from Darryl. There was a lot of talk this past week, Bill, about negotiations with Boris and Stearns and back and forth. Mets put a deadline on it. They exchanged numbers quite a bit. I believe it was last Thursday. But at the end of the day, he's still a free agent. And I'm just mind-boggled and befuddled how there right now is not a market for Alonso. And before we get your take, the last this is where I get all just crazy, right? I'm trying to hide it, but he wanted that 5 to 7 years, and Boris and him, and they told the Mets we're coming down to 3, right? So they met on the years, and they also met on the opt-outs. The only thing they couldn't meet on was the AAV per year. I don't know what Boris asked, but the Mets offered a 3-year, $70 million contract offer. It was reported by Will Salmon of The Athletic and the Times they were going to go up if need be a little bit. Obviously, Alonso and the Boris camp said no, and here we are. He's still a free agent. I believe the Mets have walked on, said you could find another offer better. And I just can't believe with 3 weeks left until spring training, a fan favorite, they have to protect Soto. That's Pete, and they have not met. So what are your thoughts on this? To me, it's crazy. It just is.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the list of other free agent first basemen out there too that are kind of left, and what is Justin Turner going to come play first base for a year until they, so I don't know. Obviously, it's a bummer for Mets fans that that see so many positive things going on with the organization. But one of the guys that's been kind of the guy to get everybody through as a Mets fan and been an integral part, obviously hit more home runs than anybody not named Aaron Judge since he came into the league. It's a bummer. I think that, Pete might have made a mistake of thinking he was Judge caliber, and there's only two of those guys really out there, really possibly in Shohei and Judge.
Yeah.
And, even Soto doesn't do that. Soto doesn't hit over 300 and hit 50 home runs.
Correct.
And yada, yada. Obviously he walks more and strikes out less, but, I'm still, and I know you and I talk off of pod too, and I'm still holding out hope that they're calling the bluff and saying, Pete, we don't think you have anybody else out there knocking the doors down for you. And obviously with him not signing anywhere else, I don't think it necessarily means that. I think it could mean that, but it could also mean that obviously Pete wants to be a Met. I'm sure he probably has a hard time laying his head down at night knowing that he turned down a 5-year deal for all the money that he did turn down, which, as it turns out, looks to have been a mistake, unfortunately for him. But I'm still hopeful. It might be right down to the deadline, and they're calling his bluff. The only thing I worry about then is about the bad taste in the mouth about the way that everything went down. But, Pete could have done himself some more favors by, hitting 20 points higher, hitting 10, 12 more home runs and not struggling like he did last year. But, he put a lot of pressure on himself and it showed. But I'm still hopeful that they're going to get something done and we can get it behind. And I think that you'll see a different Pete Alonso this year once he isn't feeling the pressure of every single at bat is how much money am I making or losing off of each at bat. Yeah.
I mean, to be blunt, you can't do anything right now if you're Pete about rejecting that offer for 158. It's gone. All you could do is look in the now. And right now, the market is Anthony Santander, right? Same age, 44 home runs last year for the Orioles. He just signed with the Blue Jays, 5 years, $92 million, right? That's 18 and a half per year. That's the market, 18 and a half. And at the end of the day, listen, I want the best for Pete, obviously, but I want him back as a Met. If the Mets are offering a fair market value offer, which is $23 million, and the Boris camp rejected it, my question is, where else is Pete going where he's going to get where he wants?
I don't believe that place exists.
Right.
I don't believe it does. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I know the Blue Jays were being battered around, but does it make sense for them to have Pete and Vladimir there this year? Because if there is any thoughts of Vladimir signing back with the Blue Jays, doesn't that kind of make him think, all right, what's going on here? You guys just brought in another first baseman. I know you need a first baseman and a DH, but if I'm your organizational first baseman, what is Pete doing here? So I don't know if there's another spot. This is a very strange situation that it's turned into.
Yeah,
I'd like to get it over with, and I'd like for it to be Pete playing first base in Queens come April.
I mean, obviously, a lot of Met fans do. I can't see like an Angels team coming out of nowhere in a month and be like, you know what, we're going to offer you Pete 5 and 150. Like, it's just not going to happen.
That's not happening.
So again, my question:
no matter how many games Boris has stood behind home plate in Anaheim, that ain't
right.
Happening.
So they rejected that 3 $70 whatever million contract with opt-outs, you would think they had a better offer, but that was a week ago. So
Yeah.
Again, like you, and you could tell with me, I just don't understand it. They fit each other perfectly, obviously.
100%.
They have to protect Soto regardless. Right now, if
there's not another bat really out there now, is there, to protect him?
No, not really.
Especially coming off of hitting with Judge behind you last year. If anything, you're going to have a disgruntled superstar coming into the beginning of the year if he doesn't have, somebody that they know is dangerous behind them.
Yeah, I mean, Soto leads the league in walks every year, regardless. That's his game. That's a big, you need a slugger behind him,
For sure.
And right now, you're essentially replacing Pete's bat with Brett Beatty, because that would be the internal option. And there's no place in hell, in my mind, how you can do that in the first year of Juan Soto, where you're paying him over $100 million, including that signing bonus. Beatty has shown nothing. Vientos just learned third base and got progressively better.
Yeah, we're going to move him, change positions again already.
Right.
It doesn't. It makes it more difficult, definitely more difficult for him. Because everybody, I think for years people think you can just plug anybody over into first base, and I know during my playing days, I thought the two most overlooked positions defensive wise was the catcher and the first baseman. Because they were such offensive positions.
Yes.
But as a pitcher, you really want a good catcher and you really want a good first baseman. And one thing Pete has proven, and we've talked about the numbers, is when those infielders throw those balls over there that bounce at him, he does the best in the league of cleaning them up and picking them up and still registering the out.
Yeah. Number one in scoops. We've talked about it forever. It doesn't make sense because David Stearns is all about defense. So you're going to move Vientos, who's a mediocre third baseman as it is, to a position he doesn't know.
Try to learn a new position.
I don't get it. And
that's why I still think it's going to happen. It's still going to happen.
I have to have a little bit of hope because that's what gets me by every day. Because technically, he literally still is a free agent. He has not signed. But David Stearns and company, and Steve Cohen's out of this. It's Stearns. He's made that clear. He's playing hardball, really big time with Boris.
100%.
So I don't know where we're going to get a resolution.
I would think that maybe with how many times that Boris can hold organizations over the coals,
right?
Maybe when teams get a chance to kind of hold him to the flame a little bit, they want to make sure they do it. Because Boris is such a polarizing figure when it comes to agents, between players and teams. I'm sure teams get tired of dealing with Boris, and players love knowing that Boris is going to get them the money. But I think that part of me says, like, Pete, man, was that really the move? Because it kind of tells everybody I was going money.
Right.
I wasn't going, I'm going to be all right with whatever I sign. I want to go and play where I want to be.
Yeah. I mean, again, he gambled on himself in the walk year. No problem with it. It didn't work out. So all you can do is, what is the fair market value now?
He's still gonna be all right. The guy's still gonna be all right. His kids are gonna be all right.
People act like Pete is past his prime and old. He just turned 30.
Well, what the thing is people look at the first basemen and they look down the line, and then it's they always go on the numbers, and that's what baseball has become it's always been such a numbers game. And I guess that if you go the analytic way, which is what everybody does, it kind of tells you that first basemen are past their prime at a certain time. But that doesn't mean that you got to factor in everybody to get to those numbers, and Pete has proven that he is one of the elite first basemen in the league. Obviously, we've talked about it for 2 years now, about keeping the batting average up in the 265, 275 range. I think that you see a different Pete when he can know that he's not playing for a contract. I really believe that.
Right. And his average did come up from 217 to 248, I believe.
Yeah.
Obviously, the home runs went down. We saw him press. We all did.
Yep.
But obviously, in the postseason, he did well. Take it for what it's worth.
He could have completely folded in the playoffs, and and then you could have definitely said, "Oh, look, this guy's having a hard time playing under the pressure." But when the pressure did get even more, other than just playing for my money, he performed and hit, what we all know. And one hit is not going to say we need to have this guy. but he did hit the, one of the, if not the biggest home runs in the history of the organization. I know that's not going to make somebody go out and sign you, and if he knew what pitch was coming, it doesn't matter. He still had to go out there and do it. And he went out there and did it in a big situation where it would have been easy to go up there and just flail and strike out and say, oh, well, let's start thinking about free agency.
And it wasn't just that home run. I mean, obviously we remember it. Like you said, it arguably is the biggest home run in franchise history, but he hit a 999 OPS for the entire playoffs.
Yeah, he was dumping the ball into right field. He was doing some things that he, probably looking back on it, he probably says, man, I wish I would have been taking this approach a little bit more throughout the season.
He hit that 3-run homer in the first inning, I believe, in Game 5 elimination game at Citi Field against a free agent still, by the way, Jack Flaherty.
Yes.
He has no market. He's still available. But
poor guy had a couple of rough outings with the lights on, and now nobody wants him. The guy had a great year last year. But the teams that are looking to sign those guys are the teams that are kind of feeling they're going to be in the bright lights anyway.
Right.
So they want to see performance in the bright lights.
Yeah, and just to put a bow on Pete, because I'm hoping by next episode he's
so am I.
So am I. Like you said, he could have folded in the playoffs. He did not.
Pete has his flaws. Every player has their flaws, but Pete's a Met.
Right.
And we all know that, and Pete loves being a Met, and the people love Pete being a Met, and I'd like to see them get it ironed out, and then hopefully it can say bygones are bygones and move on from there.
Right. It just makes too much sense. We're all just befuddled by it. Pete wants to know where he's living during spring training. He's
got to be getting a little anxious, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we'll keep our tabs on it. He's still out there, but, again, I'm just befuddled by all of it. Let's move on to the Dodgers, because they've been the talk of Major League Baseball this past week. In short, they signed the number one starter in Sasaki from Japan. They got the best left-handed reliever in Tanner Scott that you and I both wanted.
Big time.
And today, they got the best closer in Kirby Yates with a 1.18 ERA for Texas last year. They don't stop. It's incredible. And the whole week, everybody's bashing the Dodgers. They literally have an all-star team, right?
Yes.
My question to you, before the three names that I just threw out there, they got Tio Hernandez back. Before that, they re-signed, I'm forgetting. I mean, they have an all-star team. Is this good or bad for baseball when you have a super team like the Dodgers, who won the World Series last year, and it looks
got
like
exponentially
up
better
for the next 5 years as World Series contenders easily, but they're doing nothing illegal. Everything is legal, what they're doing. So which way do you lean, Bill?
I look good for baseball, bad for baseball. You think back to like when the Yankees were winning so many World Series like that. They weren't doing it necessarily with the prized players. Look, Bernie Williams, tremendous player. They
were doing it with homegrown.
A lot of it, but they brought in some guys too. But they weren't bringing in the top.
Jeter.
Yeah, well, Posada, the core four and that, but there was a lot of other guys playing over. They won a World Series with Charlie Hayes playing third base. They rotated third baseman throughout that, and they weren't necessarily bringing in the top guys or deferring money. I honestly think there's two issues that I think that can kind of be looked at here as they move closer to the next collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah.
One is obviously the deferred money, because now teams are not being sold to anybody but trust fund people that are going to be able to just invest all of that money that they would have to give anybody anyway, and then give it to them down the road, because those investments are going to make money. I would think that they got to do something about the deferred money, where you can't do that. You can't do it. I mean, because then that will stop people from doing it as much. And I think that maybe a salary floor.
Yeah.
Where teams have to spend a certain amount. But it's hard to tell, hey, you got to go play in sunny LA this summer, man. I know it's going to suck for you, And by the way, they've got all the good players.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of, even if they do that, I think more and more as players, they only want to play in specific places. And I don't even know if New York is necessarily, even in the Bronx, with the Yankees being the most historic franchise, I don't think that's the case anymore, especially what the Dodgers are doing. I don't think it's great for baseball to have a super power team. I don't. And to know that this team has just gotten better, you and I have talked about it. Like, what are we just going to cancel the regular season and give them the trophy? If you're the Tigers, who have a nice young exciting club, how excited are you that that even if we run into the Dodgers, they're an all-star team?
Yeah.
Or if you're one of the the Diamondbacks, who are supposed to be young and up and coming, and we're going to be the future of the NL West, and now never mind, the Dodgers got better. They're not doing anything illegal. Take away some of the deferred money, man. You can't do that. You can't do that. But it's too late now, because for the next 5-6 years anyway, even in 2 years, if they change the bargaining agreement, it doesn't matter. Because what are they going to tell those guys? Okay, we're reverting the contracts? No.
Yeah. I mean, everything you said, I agree with. If they want to go to LA, good for them. It's the deferred money for me. But my only argument is that every team has deferred money. Like, the Mets are deferred money to Lindor. They're still paying Scherzer. There's hundreds of players that get deferred money. Obviously, the Dodgers have taken it to the next
level. But not 15 of them on the same team.
Right. Everybody. Right.
They're doing it with everybody they sign now.
I guess it's crazy. They got the last 3 Japanese superstars in the year.
Yeah, insane.
Right?
But it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. West Coast.
I mean, it started with Nomo, right? It started with Nomo going there all the way back. It's kind of and then Ichiro obviously went to Seattle. But the Japanese guys are going to go to the West Coast teams. And right now, why wouldn't you go play for LA?
Yeah, you're right. And the deferring started with Ohtani. That
insane amount of money.
All of it, basically. They got Yoshi Yamamoto last year. They got Sasaki this year. You would think that would hit you right there about the super team. Never mind Freeman, Betts, everybody else on that team. That's crazy.
Oscar signed back with a bunch of deferred money.
But this week, particularly, when Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates are going there, like, that hit me. Now it's like these guys really just want to go to a winner, and like you said, play under the sunny skies, and they got paid. So, I can't really argue it.
And you know what? With the deferred money, I know the taxes is an issue in California, but with the deferred money, you're not given as much in taxes, because by the time you're done, you're not making that money in LA anyway. You move to Florida and collect your deferred money, and you're paying no state taxes.
Hey, Sean Manaea, when he signed that 3-year agreement with the Mets, a third of it, I believe, is deferred. He'll be getting that, and he'll be living in a state-free tax state. So obviously they know what they're doing. I can't find the fault of the Dodgers.
No, you can't blame them. Don't blame them. They're doing everything legally. I think the system just needs to be changed a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, it does. We have a mailbag question about that, so we'll save a little bit of time for that.
Right.
Before we get into the mailbag, we got to go into the Hall of Fame. Big day today. The 2025 class was announced today, and I guess I wasn't surprised at all. I'll just go right into it, and we'll give our opinions. 3 players were inducted: Ichiro, CC Sabathia, and former Met Billy Wagner. So Ichiro almost got a unanimous decision, missed by 1 vote. I want to know who that guy is.
What a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, he actually joined Derek Jeter by missing unanimous decision by 1 vote. He got 99.7% of the votes. Jeter's the only one to miss by 1. CC Sabathia, definitely a Hall of Famer. He got 86%. And Billy Wagner, on his last year of eligibility, 10th year, he got 82%. The threshold is 75. All 3, obviously, to me, are deserving. Keeping it net related, Carlos Beltran just missed at 70%, trending all the way up to make it next year easily. He got 70%, and I'll just read real quick. His 3rd year on the ballot for Beltran, 2023, 43%. Last year, 57%, and this year, 70%. He'll be in the Hall of Fame next year. And if you look at who the nominees in the 26 class are, they're nobody. So take that with a grain of salt as well. And David Wright, lastly, he remains.
Imagine being on the Hall of Fame ballot and you're nobody.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I take that. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
They're not quite the names of some other years.
Right. We're comparing the best players in the world right now. Like
the best of the best players in the world.
The best.
Right.
And lastly, David Wright, who will not make the Hall of Fame, but he actually got more votes this year. He went 5% to 8.1. So good for him. He remains on the ballot. It's just a good feel story.
For sure.
What are your thoughts?
I think I was surprised by all three, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by that.
Wow.
One, I was surprised that Ichiro was not unanimous, because if if that's not the epitome of the Hall of Famer, I don't know what is. Obviously between the major leagues, and I know it's the MLB Hall of Fame, but between the major leagues and the Japanese league, the most hits of anybody that's ever been paid to play baseball. Represented the game to exactly what the game is all about. All respect. So I was a little surprised that somebody wanted to be the jerk and not vote for him. Billy Wagner, a little surprised. It took 10 years for Billy Wagner to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
That's a little surprising. I made a fool of myself last summer when I saw him at a card show and was for some reason, believing that he had got in last year, and I congratulated him and told him it was well earned. And then I remembered, oh shit, he came up just short. So I felt like a fool. But I talked to some of my friends.
That's a hell of a story. Did he respond?
He just kind of shook my hand and didn't really respond to anything, because it was between Izzy and I, and Wagner were sitting there briefly talking.
That's cool.
And he didn't say anything. I realized that after we left, I'm like, oh God, he came up just short.
Yeah.
But a buddy of mine said, you know what? He should take that as a compliment and say that you were having the psychic vision or whatever, that it was going to come. Because like I said, that was my surprise about him, is that it took 10 years to get Billy Wagner on the Hall of Fame. I've told this story numerous times. I might have told it on the pod before.
You have.
The first time I sat in the dugout and saw him throw in the Astrodome, the only thing that kept crossing my mind was, how does anybody even hit a foul ball, let alone even hit the ball fair off of this guy? And obviously by the time he came to the Mets, he was still a dominant closer, but he wasn't necessarily the guy that he was when he first came up, the 97 to 99 mile an hour fastball with a just incredible hammer. But can't believe it took 10 years. Sabathia, most strikeouts ever by a left-handed pitcher in the American League, I believe that's his
really?
biggest.
Okay.
Yeah. Only the third left-hander to strike out over 3,000 guys. I'm not a big believer in left-hander, right-hander when it comes to Hall of Fame stuff. I do take the most strikeouts by a left-handed pitcher in the American League over the left-handed, right-handed overall.
That's a big thing.
First ballot. That's where it kind of made, because I always look back to this. There was a gentleman that was called Mr. Baseball, and not Mr. Euchre, who just passed away. But he was called Mr. Baseball, and wherever he went till the day he died, he was announced as the greatest living baseball player. And that was Joe DiMaggio. And Joe DiMaggio didn't go into the Hall of Fame until his third ballot. So while I'm not going to say CC Sabathia is not deserving, and congratulations to him, awesome for him and his family, maybe he had 250 wins, not 270. How long did it take Mussina to get in? More than one ballot, right? So not taking anything away from him. Congratulations, well-deserving Hall of Famer, but a little surprising first ballot.
You know what? I'll agree with the CC comment. I always go by, first of all, with Hall of Famers, the check of just the eyeball and the gut check. When you think of X player, are they a Hall of Famer? And like Chase Utley, for example, he's trending up. And when I think of Chase Utley, he's just not a Hall of Famer. He's a great player, but he's not a Hall of Famer.
What about Jeff Kent? And I'm not a huge Jeff Kent fan.
Right. Well, that's a perfect example.
Jeff Kent is.
Jeff Kent is definitely a Hall of Famer, right? But you got to remember who's voting for these guys. It's the media.
Yeah.
Jeff Kent, as we all know, did not get
100%.
And that brings me back to CC.
And I'm sure CC got along great with everybody, because CC's a great guy. And everybody loves CC Sabathia.
CC was everybody, by the teammates, the fans, the media. So there
You're right. You're right. You're right.
That does make a difference.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I agree.
As for Ichiro, we all agree he should have been 100%, right? And I said before, I'd love to know that douchebag who didn't vote for him. Hopefully that comes out and he gives his reason, but he doesn't have to.
It's only, him and Jeter came up one vote shy. There's only been one guy. But when I think of Jeter and I think of Ichiro, I think the epitome of what baseball is.
Yeah.
And of not just greatness, but doing things the right way. And always putting your best foot forward, never making yourself look foolish.
They were.
That's a unanimous Hall of Famer to me.
Yeah. And the fact that there's only one.
It's insane.
Mariano Rivera, deservedly so.
I think there was always that thing where nobody's going to be unanimous. Nobody should be unanimous. I think they need to get rid of that thought process.
Yeah.
Although with pitchers, it's going to become more and more difficult for Hall of Famers because the 300 wins, and Billy's only the ninth reliever of all time. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
So it's going to be harder and harder for pitchers to get in.
Absolutely.
So I guess.
It took Billy fucking Wagner.
So when you do have a unanimous guy, 10 years. When you do have a unanimous guy,
right,
make it unanimous. Ichiro is a Hall of Famer. There's no two ways around it.
Let me give you two really cool stats about one for Ichiro, one for Wagner, right? Ichiro, the last four hitters to record 350 plus stolen bases and a 330 batting average in his first 10 years. Honus Wagner, the train in the background, Eddie Collins, and Ichiro.
The train was also one of those guys.
Train's in the Hall of Fame.
No, those are obviously historic baseball names, and Ichiro was right up there with every single one of those guys.
And like you said, Ichiro came to the majors a little bit older because he had such a star-struck career in Japan.
Right.
And then the last stat that's kind of cool for Billy, this is crazy. Since 1913, the year the earned run became official in both leagues, there have been 117 pitchers who have made 700 appearances in the major leagues. Only two had a sub-250 ERA. Two, Mariano Rivera and Billy Wagner.
What took so long?
I don't know.
Because from all I've ever heard about Billy, and I've only met him a few times in passing and, crossing in batting practice when we played against each other and just saying what's up when we're going out while they're coming in or vice versa. And I'll use Wayne Franklin, a buddy of mine that played with him. When we were texting today, he said one of my favorite teammates of all time finally got in. So what took so long to get Billy Wagner in the Hall of Fame? My goodness.
Yeah, a lot of people just didn't put a lot of stock into, his stats. His postseason was not good. Career numbers. He got in. All that matters, but it was way too.
Yeah.
But he got
it. Now what hat is he going to wear?
Astros for sure.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean he played for a lot of teams.
Yes, he did.
And I
think it's Astros though too.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. He played for a lot of teams, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but his last year played for the Braves. Look at his numbers. His final year, they were insane, and he retired after that because he wanted to be a high school coach or whatever.
And all this from a guy that was actually right-handed.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. You've told the story. We all know it. Broke his right arm.
2 years in a row. Decided he was going to learn how to throw left-handed. And now he's a Hall of Famer.
All three are deserving. Beltran just missed. Andrew Jones just missed. I
think Beltran's paying for the biggest cheating scandal since the Black Sox. And obviously he's trending up, so eventually he will get in. But that's what he's paying for a little bit, obviously.
Oh, Beltran on the field is a Hall of Famer for sure. But you're right. He's paying for that scandal.
279, 430, 1,500. I don't know which numbers of those is Hall of Fame.
The stolen bases are there. The postseason, the numbers. He has the best stolen base rate ever in terms of caught stealing, success.
6 of 7.
No, I mean it's 100. He'll get in.
I'm just kidding.
And
He's going to get in. He's going to get in.
And Andrew Jones,
but he's paying for it right now.
Yeah, and
Which
Jones
he should be.
What's your take on Andrew Jones before we get into the mailbag?
I think just short. I mean, I think that, it's the Hall of Fame. It's not the banquet room of fame. And we can't turn it into the banquet room of fame. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think he's just short. I think we've already had to lower the bar with starting pitchers because the way the game is. The last 2 starting pitchers now that have went in have been 250 wins and 270 wins. And the one today with 250 is 20 less than the previous one. Let's keep it the Hall of Fame and not the banquet hall or auditorium of fame. I think he's just short.
Yeah, well, he's short this year, but 60%. And
I'm just saying, I think caliber-wise, I think just short. I'm not talking votes-wise. I'm thinking maybe he doesn't get in.
Right, okay.
I think he's just below. Awesome player, way better baseball player than I ever was. But I think just
right,
below.
I totally get it. Watching him as a fan growing up, watching Chipper Jones, and Andrew Jones and, the whole Braves teams in the 90s. Great player. Hall of Fame? Right. He's borderline. So
he's in the banquet hall of fame, if it's a banquet hall.
Okay.
Borderline. I think borderline,
And
I don't want to see everybody start getting in because it takes away the specialness of being in the Hall of Fame.
The last thing before the mailbag, you brought up the 250 wins, and 300 wins is very far off for probably anybody. But
not going to happen.
There was the signing in the last week, former Met. It was for a minute, Justin Verlander. I forget how many wins he has, but he's about 50.
Verlander signed?
Yeah, Giants.
That snuck right by everybody.
Yeah.
Who did he sign with?
San Francisco Giants, 1 year, $16 million. And he took it. See? That's a lot of money for a guy coming off a not good year. He's old as hell.
And 40 plus.
Right. And he was hurt for most of the year. That vesting option never kicked in, obviously, with the Mets involved. But the Giants see something.
You know what? I think that if he's serviceable, you're paying him that $16 million, not necessarily just for on the field. You're paying for what he could possibly bring into a clubhouse.
Yep.
And although I know Scherzer was here before Verlander, and when Verlander came in, I guess there was that animosity, and then there was the talk of the Mets are the laziest group of players, and this, that, the other thing. So who knows? But obviously, they probably feel that he could bring something other than just on the field and help be a clubhouse guy.
Yeah, and my point is, if he has a good year, let's say he wins 14 games, right? He'll have to have at least 2 more years to get to 300.
To 300, right?
I don't see Justin Verlander at 41, 2 going another 3.
Starting pitchers just don't get as many decisions nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. They don't get it. 20 game winner is went the way of the dodo bird pretty much, and so is the 300 game winner.
But I do like the signing for the Giants for the reason you said. He could be effective, but he also could be a great influence on
leader.
Else.
Yep. On younger, teaching some of the young guys that they have, teaching the stuff that he knows that somebody that is an analytics guy can't teach you.
Yeah, and keep this in mind. We all know this. Justin Verlander and his beautiful wife Kate Upton, they don't need the money. This is not for the money. Verlander's not done. He's got something to prove. He's got Cy Young's, World Series, all of it. I believe he has an MVP, right?
I believe he does.
So,
are we thinking Kershaw? Kershaw has one.
Well, yeah, Kershaw does. Verlander, he won the Triple Crown, I believe, but good for him.
Yes.
But the Giants to me are a 500 team regardless. I don't know in that division with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks after they got Burns and Jock Peterson.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. Jock Peterson went to the Rangers. So, good for them. So, mailbag. Ready?
Mailbag.
If you're new to the show, I throw it out there on Shay_hello. Throw your questions. We answer them. We're going to do it right now. We got Jeff Cohen. He loves the mailbag.
He does.
He's got one question.
He loves the pod.
Yeah, and he's got baseball and BBQ. I highly suggest you subscribe. He's got one question for each of us, and it's a different question.
All right.
Start with you. We talked about this. Bill,
Yes.
According to MLB trade rumors, I don't know who they are, but they put out an article. Would you trade the 2027 season for a salary cap?
I wouldn't trade a baseball season for anything. Not one thing in the world could say, you know what, let's sit out this year and don't play because X, Y, or Z is going to happen.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if salary cap is as important as salary floor and deferred money.
Right.
You know, I mean, obviously they've tried to do the things with the taxes on if you go over a certain amount, but the type of money that the guys that are buying and owning the top big market teams now.
Yeah.
Okay. Find me. I don't care.
Right.
You know, what are you hurting my $16 billion? You're not hurting my $16 billion that much.
Yeah. No.
So I wouldn't give up. I want them to iron something out, you know, and obviously the Players Association is known for not giving in anything.
Right.
But I would hope that they got to know that having one team that, as we sit here right now, everybody expects them to win the World Series again, can't be good in the long run for baseball and good for attendance. When it comes down to it, it's all about, for the owners, and that is attendance and people in the stands. So it's going to be hard for, you know, the Pittsburgh Pirates to have a bunch of people be interested in going to watch their ball club when they know that, well, even if we do get anywhere close, you know, the Dodgers are going to take our players. You know, Skeens is going to be a Dodger in a few years or whatever it may be. So I wouldn't trade a baseball season for anything because that would be miserable.
I agree with you. Two things that I'll say real quick. I know the question was for you. Look what happened in '94, right? They played half the year, and they were fucked. They took steroids with McGuire and Sosa to bring baseball back, and that was 4 years later. So,
and they're not in the Hall of Fame, and the guy that let it happen is.
So that was half a year. I can't imagine a whole year. That will be bad.
No, that's.
Right.
I mean, I saw that question too that Jeff was talking about, and I know that he probably doesn't believe that giving up a season for anything is worth it either.
Right. I mean, nobody wants that, but for everybody listening that does not know, the CBA does end after the 26th season. So
yes,
we'll get there in 2 years, but it's going to be crazy. The question to me, and I hate the question, but I have to answer it. He asked Casey, "Are we prepared for life without Pete?" Jeff, no.
Right. That's simple enough, right?
The answer is no. And I believe no.
I don't think anybody is.
I believe no is a complete sentence. So, no.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Jeff Cohen. Next question. Jimmy Lags at Jimmy Lags 678. For both of you, who is, in your opinion, the best Mets manager all time? I'll let you go first because you played.
I mean, look, for the way that he dealt with the players and the types of players that they were, and then obviously winning a World Series, and nothing against anybody else. And our friend TC, nothing against him.
Right.
But obviously, I got to say Davey Johnson. You know, the 86 Mets will always be my favorite team no matter what. He was the manager of that club. I've gotten to know some of the 86 Mets over my years doing fantasy camp now. That's my guy, Davey Johnson.
Did you see earlier this year the video of Darryl that showed up at Davey's house and they just talked to reminisce?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, you got to find it. I'll send it to you.
I do.
Please do. It was this season, and Darryl went to wherever Davey lives now with his wife, and just talked like friends. You know, it was really cool.
Players loved him.
Yeah.
Players loved him. They won. You know, not just Mets too. You know, he won at other places, maybe not World Series, but he always he made the Washington the Nationals brought them into the mix a little bit after Mr. Robinson.
Yep.
But that's my guy. Who's your guy?
The only knock on Davey, and I'm agreeing with you, by the way, it's Davey for me.
Right.
But they were expected to win more. You know.
Yeah, they fell a little short.
But
there was a lot of off the field stuff maybe going on that might have caught up with them a little bit.
You know, and Mike Scioscia's home run in '88 is not Davey's fault. You know, they would have won the World Series, but Davey for me is that guy. Players love him, like you said. Yeah, Terry Collins, who was gracious enough to be on our podcast last year, has all the most wins. But Davey, gets my vote for sure.
Right on.
All right, last question. Your boy, for both of us, JKNYMGI, for both of you guys, of the remaining free agents, who do you see as the best fit?
Well, I mean, I have two guys obviously in the bullpen. I like bringing Stanek back possibly. I like what he brought, and then I would like to see his brother from another mother throwing from the other side, and Andrew Shafeen, left-handed pitcher who was with Detroit.
Yep.
Big Country's his name. Both of them have big long mullets, and
Yep.
I think they both could be weapons in the bullpen.
Do you see Chafin coming after the signing of the lefty Minter? That would be two lefties.
Why not? I mean, who else you got? You got the guy that throws sliders to the backstop.
Who the
Raley?
Who? Oh, Raley. Yeah.
Threw sliders to the backstop last year. I'm
Yeah.
sure they're not in 100, and that's nothing against him. Good for him. Get his money, play your ball, but he's not Shafeen.
I don't think
Shafeen is a better player.
I've loved Shafeen for years, but like you said, he's such a country boy. I don't see him as a New York.
That's why you bring his boy Stanek in there. They look at his brother from another mother.
Yes, and Stanek, we talked about this last episode. Looked good, and the high pressure
in the playoffs. He showed, like we talked about before, the teams that are looking like the Mets, a team that looks to be playing in the bright lights. He showed that he can go and play in the bright lights.
Yeah, and I'll answer it as well. I love the question because last week we said Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates, and they're gone to the same freaking team. But I'll say, in my opinion, Pete Alonso, obviously, we talked about him.
Yeah.
But also, I want David Robertson.
That would be I'd love him too. If it's not Stanek, make it Robertson.
Am I going to be mad if it's Stanek and not Robertson? No, but
and vice versa.
Robertson had a great year with the Mets. He's not trending downward. He's the same guy every year.
I agree.
I would love him back. So,
but definitely need a bat. But there's really not a great bat out there. When they tried Hee-Seop Choi last year, Hee-Seop Choi is way from. I apologize. G-Man Choi. They tried that, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it would be Turner.
No,
who had a decent year last year.
Here we go. Alex Bregman still available. And
but then again, now you're moving Vientos to first base again. I don't want to do that.
Right.
The guy's just figuring out third base. He could be the third baseman for the future and turn into a star.
I believe Bregman has two suitors. The Red Sox, even though they have Devers, but Devers on board with it. I've heard
Devers wouldn't mind DHing, I bet.
Right.
Or move to first base. Although they got the big young kid at first base too.
Perfect fit with the Tigers, who have an opening at third, and I see him as one of those two teams.
They're going to have their own interesting stuff going on over there with their shortstop and second baseman this year.
Yeah,
that should be interesting to see.
Yeah, and with the Tigers, by the way, like they used to spend money, and now they have the son of the dad who passed away, and he's not all about that. Bregman is a Boris client, so Boris has two superstars that are yet to be signed again late.
Yeah,
Pete Bregman, same age. Good luck, Boris. He is what he is. So, and then lastly, Santander was that guy, hitter, slugger, bat-wise, and he just signed with the Blue Jays. After that, free agent market, nobody. No. The only thing I could say, and I hate saying this, okay? I hate it. But Luis Ariz of the Padres, right? He's on the market. And he played first base for the Padres last year. He's the defending batting champ, I believe, the last 2 years in two different leagues, or it might be three in a row. I don't know.
Three different teams, both leagues, right? Yeah.
But he's a 320, 30 hitter every year. He's available, but has to be by trade. So keep that name in mind. We'll see what happens. So
what about bringing old OMG back?
who?
OMG, oh my God.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, honestly, I know you don't follow on social media like I do with these guys, but Jose Iglesias, who you're talking about, he's acting on social media like he has re-signed.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that he does.
You know, welcome back, he says to the guys, like, bro, you're still a free agent, you know?
Well, you know,
and
he probably, maybe he already knows the number and they know the number and they agreed and there's no reason to.
Yeah.
Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if he's back too.
And he signed with Boris. So, okay, whatever.
That's to get him the best gigs.
Yeah. But I would love to have him back. I don't know where the fit is, but I heard Ronnie Mauricio's not going to be ready for spring training. So, you know, I have no problem with Iglesias coming back for 1 year, 2 years, you know. Will he hit 37, Bill? No. But the vibes. But Manaea came back, Winker came back. I would love Jose back.
Absolutely.
Let's go into quick pitches, all right?
Yes, sir.
I say it every week. You know what? I'm not going to say it this week. Let's just go into it. Everybody,
let's rock and roll.
Knows quick pitches now. If you don't, many more episodes to go. Number one, Bill. Ready?
Yes.
If you could teach a dog one human thing to do, what would it be?
One human thing to do. Well, you asked me about talking dogs prior. Can I say teach them to take a shit in the toilet so we don't have to pick it up in the backyard? Because I have 4 dogs and up to 8 at the house at any given time. So that's a lot of mud back there.
No pun intended. Shit. I think I asked you this. I might have.
No, you asked me something about if they can talk.
Okay, because you gave the same answer, which is fine, but it could have been a different question. So you want them to
shit in the toilet?
Yeah, absolutely. I like that answer. I would agree.
Like I said, I've got 4 dogs and anywhere up to 8 dogs at the house at any given time. So there's a lot of picking up to be done.
And I know listeners of our show know that both of us are dog lovers, so that's why I always bring the dog questions into it. I like that answer. I would agree. Number 2, if you could turn any activity into an Olympic sport, what would you be the gold medal winner in?
Oh, nothing. I really, if I could turn any sleeping
activity,
sleeping, might not be gold, but I'd be good. I like to sleep, although I'm not really good at it, so maybe not.
No, you wouldn't be the gold then.
No, I don't think I win a medal in any Olympic thing.
Even activity, I'm not
procrastination.
Okay.
I would be up there. I'm sure there's somebody, but see, that's the thing is, there's probably somebody better at procrastinating than me too.
Absolutely. So that's the beauty of quick pitches, because you're gonna, after we're done, you're gonna be like, shit, that's what I
should have said this. That happened last week. I can't remember what the question was, but
yeah,
that happened last week.
I like this question because it's not sport, it's activity. You know. All right. Number 3. If I don't like the answer, I have a 4. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Oh boy, I love this question though. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have spaghetti for hair or sweat mayonnaise?
Holy shit.
That's hilarious.
I'm going to say spaghetti for hair because if as it got too long, I could have my wife make spaghetti meatballs out of it. I don't want to sweat mayonnaise. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I might be able to at least keep the spaghetti off of my beautiful face.
You know what I love about that question? We know your favorite meal that your wife makes is spaghetti and meatballs.
So yeah.
I love that we just somehow turned it into your hair.
And then I could always, what's funny is I have some of my clients I work with, younger kids, and they're a little undersized, some of them. And that's my go-to with them. I'm like, listen, I want to hear that when you come back next week, I want to make sure that you had spaghetti and meatballs at least once during the week.
Is that...
And that's my go-to with them.
Is that because it helps? Or
trying to put on some weight, trying to put a little, it's, pasta and protein.
Okay.
That'll do it. Carbs and protein, so I've Santino Amirable, one of my favorite little guys that I work with. I bust his chops every week about make sure you have your mom, and he's an Amirable. That's Italian as it comes.
Very.
I tell him chicken parm, and spaghetti and meatballs every week. You
Okay.
gotta have it.
I like that.
So spaghetti for hair over sweaty mayonnaise.
I agree. Who the hell wants to sweat mayonnaise?
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, I like mayonnaise on a sandwich, but I don't want it coming out of my pores.
I'm going to ask number 4.
Okay.
Only because we talked about dogs and animals, and it right up there.
All right.
If animals could talk, which animal do you think would be the rudest?
The rudest.
Yeah. Now I'm talking like talk English, or a language, not bark or cluck, or if they could be, French.
I would say it has to be the hippopotamus or the rhinoceros.
Yeah.
Because they're known to not like humans much out on the safari in the wetlands.
Right.
I think that they would probably be pretty rude to you. Tell you to get the hell out of their habitat.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to eat your face.
Yeah. So you're going with the rudest killer animals you could think of. Not killer, but
yeah, on the land. I mean, look, a shark, obviously too, but
yeah,
I'm going to go with rhinoceros or hippopotamus.
Okay. I haven't thought about it, so I got nothing. These are your questions, so I like that.
I hadn't thought about it until you asked, so I had to come up with something pretty quick.
The beauty of quick questions, or I'm sorry, quick pitches.
Quick pitches.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's going to wrap it up, boys and girls. Episode 45 is in the books. We
put it in the books.
Yep, Howie Rose would love that. We talked about a lot, Bill. That was just 1 week of off-season shit right there. So, as we put a bow on episode 45, what is going to happen in a week for episode 46? Is it going to be this crazy? Is Pete going to sign? Are the Dodgers going to trade for Ichiro Suzuki at the age 40, whatever, 50, and put him as a pinch hitter? Like, who knows?
Or a pitcher. He could be a pitcher, right? He likes to pitch.
Yeah. So
I've been seeing some crazy little memes, and one was this little. It was an Asian kid. I don't know if he was Japanese or not, but it says Dodgers just signed 6-year-old, and I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
And then there was a video, and the little kid was making some nice little plays and all that. And then I saw another one that I thought might actually be true. It was maybe it's not too, because you never know what the stuff you see on the internet. But it was
probably not
the South Sudanese kid. The Dodgers just signed so and so, 16 years old. From that one could be true. I don't know, because the video of the kid looked like it could be legit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I believe true. He's 6'7".
Yeah,
the Dodgers, whatever.
Yeah.
At this point, I there are a lot of free agents available. I just expect them after Yates and Scott, and Sasaki, which we all knew he would with the Dodgers, but Yates and Scott, I just expect everybody to sign with
everybody. I heard they expanded the rosters to 55 guys, and they're going to have a full roster.
And to go with the stupid memes that we see on Twitter, X, Instagram, wherever, I saw, hey, maybe the Dodgers are going to sign Pete 1 year, $30 million as a pinch hitter, against lefties.
And they defer all the money.
Right. And then last thing, bring it to football. Quarterback Jaden Daniels for the Redskins, Commanders.
Yes.
Right, and they just beat the Lions. It was Dodgers signed Daniels to what are 10 years, $900 million with $900 deferred.
Yeah.
Like the memes are
Daniels has been very impressive to watch.
Yeah. So
I'm happy for that team. I'm rooting for them a little bit, which is funny because I grew up in that area and I was always like doing the anti-Commander / it was Redskins then, obviously, just to be difficult.
Well, let me ask a question, because the next time that we have our episode, we'll have our Super Bowl, 2 teams that are going at it. So what are your predictions? We have the Commanders at the Eagles, and we have the Bills at the Chiefs. What's our Super Bowl?
I am hoping for Bills Commanders, because the Chiefs and the Eagles have been there recently. Let's see some new blood in there. I'm hoping. I'm not good at predicting anything, although I am kicking myself for not betting the house last night on Ohio State, which would have paid off. But I'm not a gambler, so then I didn't. But I'm hoping Bills Commanders.
Bills deserve it, obviously. I'm gonna go. I'm not high on the Chiefs. I'm gonna go Bills, Commanders.
But I won't be surprised if it's the other way around either.
Right? Would I be surprised if it's the Eagles and the Chiefs? Hell no.
No.
But
Haven't we seen that one already?
Yeah.
Didn't we see that one?
And
I'd like to see Josh Allen get in the playoffs, and I'd like to see the team from the nation's capital get in there. And I really like what this Jaden Daniels kid has done. The Lions did everything they could to try to piss him off, like pushing him out of bounds and hitting him in the. They tried, and that kid just got up every single freaking time. And I remember there was even a play during there where he was running the ball. He got pushed and then thrown down to the ground a little bit late, and one of his linemen was getting into it with another Lions player. He jumped right up and ran over to his lineman to tell his lineman, chill out, let's get back in the huddle. I was like, whoa, this guy is mature.
Yeah.
Because most guys would have gotten up and went right after and got in the face of the guy that threw them down late. So I was like, I'm a fan of this kid. He showed me a lot in that last.
He's a rookie. He was drafted number 2 overall last year. I love him. And one thing I saw, we all know Tom Brady, probably the greatest quarterback up there, top whatever. Daniels told them what his pregame is. He wakes up every day, you'll like this, at 6 a.m. and does some virtual shit now where it's like seeing the progressive, the game.
The reads, the progressions.
And
yeah.
you could just see the smile on Brady's face because we all know Brady is one of the hardest workers in the NFL.
He's not like the guy from the Raiders years ago. LSU quarterback, Russell.
Oh, that could be the number 1 bust ever. Yeah.
Well, they gave him a DVD that didn't have anything on it and said, this is film. I want you to.
Right.
And he said, yeah, I watched it.
And
there was nothing on the DVD. My goodness.
Yeah.
That's not Jaden Daniels.
No. So, you grew up in Virginia, right?
Yep.
So
right outside of D.C.
Right. I'll root for the Commanders for you, and obviously we like
Thank you.
A little bit of an underdog. So
I like it. And they're playing well. They were fun to watch.
All right.
The Lions kind of ran out of steam. They were just so hurt defensively. It was just, it was going to be a shootout. And then when Goff took the hit to the face, I really think he was concussed, and maybe Bridgewater should have played, but it's tough to take Goff out because he's been, kind of the heart and soul of the offense all year.
Yeah. Let's before we sign off here, let's manifest before next episode. Pete back with the Mets. I don't know how, but we're manifesting it. And a Commanders to the Super Bowl.
All right.
Fair?
Let's do it.
All right.
Fair.
That's going to wrap up episode 45 on the Say Hello podcast. We got a lot in. It's exciting right now, but a little bit anxiety-ridden with Pete, if you know the Mets. I want to thank Chris behind the scenes, filling in for Steve. And Chris has done a great job the last 2 weeks. Bill, before we sign off, as I ask you every podcast, anything to throw in there?
Nah, man. Everything just is the same as always. I appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for you for doing the prep and getting us ready, and let's manifest that Pete signing back.
Yeah,
because everybody wants to see it.
All right, for Chris behind the scenes, Bill Pulsifer, I'm Casey Lynn saying so long until the next episode of the Say Hello podcast.